and others will join shortly. Thank you, Jenna. We are planning to record this session, and the session will be available for future reference. We will be posting a recording on our YouTube channel, and we'll send out the link to all of you for future reference, or for you to share with other team members within your organizations that would benefit from what we're covering today. So again, welcome. Today we plan to provide a brief overview of the program to provide you some background, and really spend the majority of our time doing a deep dive into reporting and the tool that we've designed to facilitate reporting. We will also walk you through how to access our partner portal. Our partner portal is used for grant administration purposes, and partners, skilled nursing facilities, will access this portal and upload their reporting templates utilizing the portal. We also have some information on e-payment. For those organizations that have not yet signed up for e-payment, we'll provide some quick instructions on how to get that process underway. Christina will also cover very high level some record retention considerations, and we'll wrap up with a Q&A and open it up to any questions that you may have that we may not have covered this afternoon. So again, welcome, and thank you so much for making the time to attend this informational webinar this afternoon. So as I mentioned, we want to start with a program overview to provide you context on what the program goals, objectives are, and then proceed into the main topic, which is reporting. So the long-term care workforce program is part of a larger program, what is being referred to, or has been referred to, as a transformational community care coordination program, a program made possible through funding from Monroe County. So the long-term care workforce program is one of two components. A program that you're all very familiar with, as the program has been underway since late 2023, is the complex care program. The program has had already a significant impact on hospital overcrowding, and importantly has facilitated skilled nursing facility placement for patients, difficult to place patients, patients awaiting a SNF bed. The long-term care program addresses your workforce shortages. It addresses the workforce shortages by building, strengthening existing pipeline programs that may be already in place, or new programs that you're going to put in place. And these programs will provide or create career advancement opportunities that we feel will strengthen your workforce by way of recruitment, training, and very importantly, retention. So next slide, please. The program is a collaboration. We're working with licensed home care agencies, with skilled nursing facilities, with Monroe Community College and other training providers. We're working with community-based organizations, and importantly, we're also engaging with and contracting with minority and women-owned businesses for this program. So CNA, LPN, and RN candidates will be recruited both from within your incumbent workforce and also externally. They will be supported in pursuing additional training, and training that may be either facilitating new jobs for them or advancing their careers in healthcare. So the overall goal of the program is to address your workforce shortages, and importantly, to provide individuals with a good job and living wages. In the program, as I mentioned, skilled nursing facilities will recruit candidates externally and internally for these pipelines, sponsor these individuals in training, providing for any needed wraparound support, mentorship, and hopefully through these combined efforts, you will be successful in retaining these individuals within your organizations, or minimally in the long-term care workforce sector. On the next slide, we put together this graphic that highlights the nursing career pathway, a pathway that can begin at an entry level. An entry level job can be at a non-certified role, whether it's a resident care aide, a role within your environmental services, within dietary, and could serve as a feeder to your CNA jobs. Entry level can also be CNAs. We include here, importantly, the key stakeholders, starting at the bottom with the employers, in the middle with the trainers, which may include the employers. Many employers provide in-house training, and some of the healthcare provider systems also have a workforce development programs, including colleges under their continuum. And on the top, we include recruiters, which can, again, include the employers as you routinely recruit for your open positions. And it also includes community-based organizations that work with clients who are seeking employment, seeking good jobs, and can be a source of candidates, recruitment candidates for your pipelines. I want to mention that we're formally partnering with EE Pathways and Refugees Helping Refugees in this program, and are looking to, as we embark on this program, really making linkages between these community-based organizations and your recruiters within your organizations to, again, feed your pipelines for these nursing positions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christina, who will review how the grant funds may be used by your organizations in this program to support career advancement opportunities, good jobs, and help address some of your workforce shortages. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, so the long-term care workforce program, as Catherine mentioned, is really focusing on giving dollars to the SNPs to sponsor individuals, specifically focused on a career pathway in nursing, anywhere from CNA, LPN, straight through RN. As Catherine mentioned, though, there are some feeder programs that are pre-certification, and we can get individuals into those CNA programs as well. The funds can be used for wages, so that they can be donors, benefits, wraparound supports, anything from childcare to transportation, rent. These funds are quite flexible in what they provide for individuals during this training and throughout their employment as well. The funds may be used obviously for tuition, books, supplies, fees, career counseling. That could be a career coach, success coach, mentorship. As far as bonuses are concerned, we're really looking at focusing on more incentive-based bonuses. Something that is focused on an outcome, such as completing your certification, completing a specific training program, or tied to retention. So we're not looking at sign-on bonuses per se, because the focus of this is honestly to build workforce in the community, and we'd really like to tie it to that type of incentive. There's also an opportunity for student loan assisted payments for individuals. And from a tuition perspective, this program is funded through an ARPA grant with Monroe County.
Christina,
you're cutting out.
You're
Christina.
fading out sometimes.
Yeah, you might lean in.
Yes, I'll come in a little closer. So as I was saying, for tuition, the funds are being provided through a Monroe County ARPA grant, and so we would like to primarily partner with Monroe Community College. But having said that, if an individual applies and there is not capacity for them in the program, or they do not get in, but they get into another program, that can be 100% of the reimbursement gap covered primarily we're looking for NCC, and that would be 100% covered. If they choose not to apply or not to attend NCC for education, then there's a 50% coverage. But understand that we're looking to cover gaps. So we would encourage your employees and candidates to look into as many opportunities for financial aid as possible, including what's offered through your own organizations, because we'd like to build on that, as well as looking externally for opportunities. So we're really looking to supplement what is already being offered for funding options. Next slide, please.
Christina, can I go back and have a question on that slide?
Of course.
I think you mentioned if they go to MCC, there's a pot of money to pay for the tuition at MCC that MCC has. So if our employee goes to MCC, does that come out of the $280,000, the tuition, or is that paid with another pot of money?
Yes, so Mark, there's going to be some overlap between a current program that we have underway with MCC and this program, and we're working through those details. So I think we'll need to work with each organization and any individuals that already are enrolled and see how the tuition is currently funded and how it will be funded as we transition to this program, as MCC transitions funding to this program.
So the question is, the answer is to be determined then?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right, so the reporting requirements for this program, again, we're working with Monroe County, so they've outlined some specific demographic information that they're looking for. We're also looking for specific information on the expenses that you're incurred. This is a reimbursement program. So we will be requiring you on a monthly basis to be submitting that dashboard and invoice, which we've combined into a reporting template that we will be walking you through in just a minute. And I will be walking you through, please go back to the last slide. Thank you. And I'll be walking you through the portal on which you'll be doing that reporting. It should include all allowable costs that are incurred during that month. And as outlined in your contract, FLPPS will remit payment within 30 days of any approved reporting. We usually try to get it done long before that, but that's what we put in our contract as 30 days from the approval. Next slide, please. And now we'd like to introduce Elizabeth Santilli, and she's going to be walking us through exactly what the reporting looks like. Again, this is where you'll be capturing all the information, everything from demographics for the participant and the services that you're invoicing and the expenses. So thank you, Beth.
Of course, no problem. So that was an excellent introduction. I'm going to walk us through just what you're kind of be looking at each month and try and make this as streamlined as possible. There are brief instructions on this first tab, which I won't read through today. They're very brief. One of the things I do want to highlight, though, is that it does include the county's definition for what a training is and what a program is if you're trying to figure out how to report something in this template. Each month, you want to make sure to fill in who's completing the form, the facility, and the month and year. And then we'll get into our first tab. So this is going to include the demographics, trainings, and programs reporting. So again, this is what Monroe County is asking for. This is going to be a running list. So you would want to save this and work from it each month rather than starting from a brand new, fresh spreadsheet. That will make your life a lot easier. Anytime that you have somebody joining, you're going to put their name here, the date that they first started, and this is something you would update each month, is the most recent date served. It doesn't have to be to the exact day and minute, but when they were most recently engaged. Status of services is going to be ongoing, complete, or reopened. So it's ongoing if they're still enrolled, complete if they've completed. And then reopened would be if somebody for some reason leaves that and then opens back up, or maybe they start another program in the future. Everything else in this section is predominantly general demographic information. So it's going to include their age, race, gender identity. And for each of these demographic pieces here, there are drop downs of what specific information we're looking for, and prefer not to say is an answer for all of these, just to be clear on that.
Excuse me, Beth, if we don't track some of this information, how do we fill that out? Like for gender identity, LGBTQ plus?
Well, this is information that the county is requesting for us to report on. So if you, I guess, don't have that information, I suppose the best answer would be prefer not to say, but I'll divert to Christina if you have a different.
Yeah, so if I may, Beth, we may
Okay.
need to add additional category, something to the effect that it's not collected.
Right,
Because
it's not
right,
required.
just not,
no.
or not
Yeah.
required, not collected.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's like a gender not specified as one for gender identity. So
Oh.
maybe we can look through and kind of come up with
Okay.
how to respond in that situation. There is a question on individual yearly income. For column L and M, household yearly income of number of household members, you will not have to report on that, so you can ignore those oranged out columns.
Excuse me again, but for the individual yearly income, is that based upon what our organization is paying? You know, because a lot of people have second jobs and we wouldn't know their total yearly. We'd know what we would provide on an annual.
That is a good question. I had interpreted this as what you would be paying.
Okay. That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. This is great though. Keep asking questions, because we think of it one way and then you guys have the real world like experience and know how it's going to apply. So feel free to shout them out. Preferred language you'll be able to type in and zip code. And then for both the trainings and programs sections over here, again, the definition for that is included in the instructions page here for you to align that appropriately. But both sections are structured the same in terms of the template. So if you're making a referral for somebody related to, let's say, something employment related, you would just hit not completed until they've completed the training or program. Then you would select completed. If they never complete, you can leave it as not completed. And if it's not something you refer them to, let's say on this line, I don't have to put not completed for each and every item. You only have to report on the things that you're actually connecting that person to. So you don't have to do not completed on each tab. You can just leave it blank and that will be fine.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, I would just like to add that we modeled this template off of what was given to us by Monroe County. So you'll see that there are a lot of sections that just might not be applicable for your program and your organization. So as Beth mentioned, you don't have to fill out anything that doesn't apply. If it doesn't apply, leave it blank. And if you have any specific questions, we'll be meeting regularly, Catherine and myself, with all the participating organizations. And if you have specific questions about your own unique program, we can address it during those meetings as well.
And so another question, please. So each month you say for a 12-month LPN program, we'd be going monthly to say where the current status is. Will it will be pre-populated from the other months? So we're just updating?
Correct. You'll want to save this spreadsheet
Okay.
and work from it each month. So it'll be a rolling list
Okay.
as opposed to starting with a fresh one. I think that's just easier for your end, for our end, and for tracking everything. So please update it.
Thank you.
So now here's where the many other tabs come into play. As Christina said, there is a very high likelihood you will not be touching all of these. And you can definitely feel free, if one of these isn't relevant to you, to hide it. If that makes it easier for you, that's totally fine. But you only have to pay attention to those things that apply to how you are intending to use the funds. I am not going to go through each and every one just for the sake of time. And some of them, again, may not be applicable, but just know that each section is slightly different on what the county is asking for us to report on. But there are columns, drop downs when applicable to kind of make it as easy as possible for you to fill this out. And again, if there's any specific questions on certain tabs, you can feel free to reach out and we'll make sure that we help you. But I want to highlight a couple of the ones that I think you guys may be using most frequently. And Christina, feel free to jump in at any point. Again, I want to start with education. Let me backtrack first, actually. For some of the things that you may be using these funds for, you may end up filling in multiple tabs for one specific situation. So for example, if we're wanting to get somebody training as a CNA, you may fill in the education tab, the employment tab, and the incentive tab, depending on kind of the situation. You'll have to feel out what's going to be most appropriate for how you guys are organizing this. But I think these are some good ones to start off with. So again, these are going to be a rolling list. So you can just update it each month. You don't have to delete, change anything in here, but you would add the individual's name, age, date of referral to their program, the type of coursework that they're enrolling in. There are drop downs here. There's an estimated graduation or completion date for that education. Once they get to the point where they hopefully achieve a milestone, we can record that in here too as appropriate. If they have an area of expertise. And then again, related to expenses, you want to put in your total expense and then yes or no if an expense report is attached. And the status. So is it ongoing status or have they completed at the end? Again, this will be a rolling list, so you can just hit complete, switch that over once they're done. If an individual may, for example, in education, they may not have a payment due for their tuition or course for that month. So you can just zero out this expense line here and keep them listed as ongoing and edit it for the next time that reimbursement is being requested. Any questions right there off the bat? Okay. Employment is another one I want to highlight.
Maybe
just
before
as
you go on, Beth, we want to just highlight too that for specifically for tuition, we are going to request that a tuition bill is provided, and what is the amount that is being is being requested for reimbursement, including if 100% is being requested, that we could clearly see it's a MCC invoice or bill, tuition bill, and if it's not, an explanation if you are seeking 100% reimbursement on the tuition, whether or not an application was filed with MCC, et cetera, or it was, or if it wasn't, and we need to have some backup to be able to approve any requests for tuition reimbursement. And we're thinking the tuition bill would probably be the best form of evidence. Any questions on that? Okay.
All right. So the next tab I want to highlight, and actually quick before I do that, I'm just going to throw out that these tabs on the bottom are alphabetized to try and make all, I don't know, 20 of them. I don't know how many there are, easy to find, as easy as possible. So we have employment right next door, and it's going to work very much the same. So we're going to list their name, age, date they referred, if they obtained a job or not. So again, in the example, if we're sending somebody for training to be a CNA, ultimately, if they obtain that job or not, we want to record that here. The employer name, which may very well be you, your organization. The industry, part-time or full-time, what their salary is. if they're being promoted. So kind of like what Catherine was speaking to before, if they were an existing staff member and they've moved up into a new role, we want to see what the previous role was, what the new role is. And again, for expense reporting, any related expenses, if an expense report was attached, and we just have, again, status ongoing or complete for each of these. So once somebody completes and they obtain their new role, then that would be complete. And it may be complete as soon as you write it in there.
So Beth, just to clarify, if we had a program that was that the training was being paid for and also wages of participants in that program, this is where those wages would be captured?
Correct. Yes.
Any questions on that from anyone? So
From an expense report that you have, would it just be like, you know, a payroll file or something like that be acceptable? It wouldn't be a real expense report, you know, coming, it would just be coming from our own organization that we paid them through our payroll. That would be acceptable?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and I think I'm going to move next to incentive. So if you guys are providing any incentives to individuals, you're going to record that here. Again, it's going to ask for name, age, date of the payment, the type of incentive, any milestone that they achieved to reach that specific incentive, what the expense was, expense report, and again, the last thing is status, ongoing or complete. So maybe you have some sort of retention bonus or something like that there. No, I don't know, Christina. I thought you shook your head.
Yeah, so exactly. So I'm just thinking about that previous example. If there was a training program, a CNA training program, for example, and you're putting in an invoice to pay for the training, you're invoicing the wages for those participants. And if you had a $250 stipend that you were giving to those participants upon successful certification, then you would be filling out those 3 tabs that we just went through, correct? There would be the education to cover the training. There would be, what was the second one? Employment, which would cover the wages, and incentive, which would cover the bonus.
Correct. So again, there's multiple tabs here. You may not use several of these, so feel free to hide them unless there's any specific questions about other tabs or anything, Christina or Catherine, you want to highlight. I would just say that you will get a copy of this and feel free to click around in it and play around. You can't really break it. If you do, will help. And if you're not sure where to put something or how to record that, I'm sure we will be able to help with that too.
Yeah, I would also add, as Beth had stated, obviously, as you're moving forward, please utilize the previous month's recording template so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If for some reason you don't have a copy of it, I will show you as we go through the portal. It will always live on the portal, and you can either access it there, or if you ever have any issues, I can always assist. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Catherine.
Did anybody have any other questions just while I have my screen shared on this reporting template? All right, then I will pass it back.
Thank you, Beth. All right, so as we mentioned previously, FLPPS has a portal that we utilize with all of our partners for reporting. And so I will walk you through the process to request access, to access it, and then what the actual portal is going to look like when you go to upload your submission. So as I just mentioned, the partner portal will be utilized for all reporting, which will be monthly for this project. The template that you just saw will also, there will be a copy of the most recent template on the main page of your partner portal, and I'll show you where that lives. Organizations will need to identify the individuals that they're going to, that would be doing that reporting so that we can set them up with access to the portal. We recommend that 2 individuals be identified per organization, just so that, you know, if somebody needs to go on some much needed PTO, there is a backup. We grant access to the portal. We require your the individual's name, their work email address, and they will be using their username and password that they have through their organization's IT department. Having it set up in this manner allows you, if you need to change your password for any reason, to be able to go directly to your own IT staff and not have to go through FLPPS as a middle person. So it just streamlines that communication. So to request access to the partner portal, like I said, 2 individuals need to be identified. The 2 individuals that will probably be doing the reporting. You can send the information to myself. We can send you a copy of this deck so you have this information. All of you should have my email address. We're looking for, again, just the employee's name, organization, their title, email address, and a phone number just in case there's any issues when trying to set this up. So then once we put in for access to be granted to you, an email will be sent that looks like this. I know it's very tiny, so depending on the size of your screen, you might not be able to read it. But again, we can send you out a copy of this. You will get an invitation. It's from FLPPS on behalf of Microsoft or something. Understand that some organizations, their firewall will block it and might go into spam. So if you're expecting this, please look in your spam folder to ensure that you haven't received it. If you still haven't received it, reach out to me. I'll make sure that our IT staff can resend it to you. Then what you need to do is you need to click on the accept the invitation button at the bottom of the screen. And then we'll walk you through the next steps. Next slide, thank you. So after you accept the invitation, you'll be brought to a landing page that looks similar to this. And here you have to copy and paste from this box into the URL. Again, we'll send you these instructions. It's very simple. And then once you are able to gain access, this is what your partner portal main page will look like. All right, and at this point, if you just give me a moment, I will bring up what the portal looks like. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so this is what the portal looks like. This particular site is for St. Anne's. You will each have your own unique site, but the main page will all look the same. As you see here in the center, This is where any partner templates are stored. If you click on this see all, it will bring you over here. And when you click on this, it will take you to the template that we were just going through with Beth. So we can save the most recent copy of your template here, so you'll always have a copy of it. Then you just hit back to the main, which will, if you hit the little house, will always take you back to home. So to access your workforce reporting, just hit on that workforce reporting button, and this will be the screen that you'll see. Again, it will be specific to your own organization. Each of these columns can be filtered. The status is just mostly for internal purposes. What you need to know, though, is that you can only access metrics that are either in not started status or action required. If it's in any other status and you need to amend it in any way, please reach out to me, and I can ensure that we revert that to action required, so that you're able to access that. So partner requirement just lists exactly what is listed in your contract and what is required of you. There's a due date. So if you get lost in all of the different metrics, a good way to filter is just to click on the one that is due, and you should, and then that one will pop up. You all will only have one metric that's due a month. It will look exactly like this. If you right click on it, you can open it. And it's a very basic setup. We have an open text box in case you need to add any notes. But mostly you'll just be using this to upload your most recent version of your reporting template. At the bottom, you have the opportunity to cancel if you were in the wrong metric. If you want to save a metric and then return later, you may. But if it's complete, go ahead and hit submit, and that will put it into our queue for our review and approval. Are there any questions? Well, if you have any questions when you actually do it, please feel free to reach out. Sometimes it can be fiddly, so I can walk you through it. And if anyone is unable to access the partner portal while they're going through those steps, please reach out as well, because we can assist, and we could always get one of our IT staff to hop on a call in real time and kind of walk you through it in case there's any firewalls or things behind the scenes that we're unaware of that are, you know, impacting your ability to be able to access that portal. And now I'd like to turn it over to Amy Molina, who's going to talk about setting up for electronic payment. As we mentioned, the program requires you to send in your invoices or this reporting template monthly. So it's so much easier if we set up for electronic payment. It's entirely up to you, but we'd like to walk you through the steps in case you'd like to set up for that.
Good afternoon, everybody. The steps to take to set up for electronic payment is very simple. And to start it off, you just send an email to the accounts_payables@flips.org and CC myself, Amy_Molina@flips.org, with the full name of the person authorized to enter banking information for your company and the email address for them. They will receive an email from Flips that gives them the link to enter in your banking information into the bill.com facility that we use to pay you by EFT payments. Once we receive the request, we can send them the detailed instructions to set up the account. It probably will take about maybe 5 minutes at most to set up an account. And every time you get paid, you will be paid faster than a check because it would be electronic funds.
Thanks, Amy. Many organizations have already signed up for e-payment. There are a number of organizations that may consider signing up. I'm thinking about some of the Alliance skilled nursing facilities may want to set up individual payments or e-payments for reimbursement directly to their facilities.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, and finally, we just wanted to go over quickly record retention. So each of your contracts had this section related to the retaining of business records and audit, and this was put in there by Monroe County, and it's requiring that you keep records for 10 years. And that's just in the event that you're audited. So next slide, please. So some of the records could include backup documentation for any of the expenses that you were not required to provide on a monthly basis, and also for employment records. Any questions about that?
Well, thank you, Christina, Beth, and Amy for walking through the reporting process, the use of the reporting template, including how to access our partner portal for reporting purposes, and also some ways and how to initiate e-payments if you've not already done so and are interested in doing so. That's what we had prepared to share with you this afternoon. Are there any questions, comments, thoughts from anyone? Quiet group. It is late afternoon.
I'm sure we'll have more once we get into actually filling it out, right?
I'm sure. So some homework, right? If you could provide to Christina contacts within your organizations that will be responsible for the reporting submissions. They may not be the same individuals that are they're actually aggregating all the data. That would be appreciated. We can get access to the portal underway. And again, for those organizations that have not set up e-payment, also please reach out with information that Amy's requesting. Amy, if you could send out just a quick note to all the participants today about the information that you'll need for e-payment, and Christina, you'll follow up as well, right, with the information that we need for granting access to skilled nursing facilities for accessing the partner portal. Great.